40, Part 2 by Ahmed Al-Shugairi. The book 40 by the writer Ahmed Al-Shugairi contains a mixture of topics and ideas, as well as a number of stories and experiences that the writer went through in his life. In the second part of the summary, we will shed light on the stories that Al-Shugairi narrated in the book. One day, while Ahmed Al-Shugairi was sitting in a cafe, a man came and started to ask Al-Shugairi, "Why are you so arrogant? Since a year, I have been trying to reach you, but to no avail. I sent you an email and called you on your mobile phone, but to no avail." The man continued to attack Al-Shugairi. At that time, Al-Shugairi decided not to respond and to just listen. The man continued in his attack, saying, "You celebrities are so arrogant. You don't know that your fans are the reason for your fame, and the one who shows humility, Allah elevates him in the estimation." And yet, Al-Shugairi didn't respond with a word. Then the man was silent for 2 minutes, then returned and said, "I know that celebrities are busy, and I'm sure that you have a lot of trips and concerns. Forgive me and give me your head to kiss it." This story is one of the situations that assured Al-Shugairi that silence is the best solution in the way of anger. Silence has a strange effect in transforming an angry person into a quiet defender. If you start attacking an angry person or defending yourself, it often gets worse. This was exactly the secret why the Messenger of God, peace be upon him, listened to a member of Quraysh when he attacked him. The messenger listened to him until he was completely over. Then he asked him, "Ibn al-Walid, have you finished?" And when he said yes, the messenger, may peace be upon him, said, "Then hear from me." Bit to remember, in order for your words to enter the mind of the one in front of you, let him finish his words first, because when the mind is filled, it can't accept more. In high school, Al-Shugairi was very thin, and this was the reason why his classmates always told him words such as pencil or matchstick, to the extent that these harassments caused him a psychological complication that made him talk to himself every day before going to bed. Al-Shugairi used to imagine conversations with his colleagues and to respond to their harassment, such as that most of football players at that time were also skinny, such as Majid Abdullah, Muhaysin Al-Jam'an, and others. This psychological complex remained until the year 1993, when he decided to go to the gym to improve his body and build muscles. After that, the gym became like an addiction to Ahmed Al-Shugairi, to the point where he became afraid of missing out on exercise, even for one day. And he also didn't like fasting, as he was afraid of being thin again, and he used to fast the month of Ramadan only, without sunnahs or optional worships. And although he had got rid of thinness, its complexes didn't leave him. Al-Shugairi didn't get rid of this psychological complex until 2 years ago, when he read and discovered the many benefits of fasting. And he practiced the worship of fasting harder than any time, until he no longer cared about losing some weight, and for the first time in his life, he didn't care about how people see his body shape. Bit to remember, by knowledge, education, and proper persevere, you can get rid of your psychological complexes and bad habits without being concerned with the opinions of the people around you, from your family and friends. Ahmed Al-Shugairi says that he has a habit while reading books, which is, when he starts reading a book, he takes it with him everywhere until he finishes reading. One day, Al-Shugairi was sitting in the Holy Rawda in the Prophet's Mosque. When he finished praying, he took out the book he was reading at that time, and while he was reading the book, one of the worshippers came near to him and told him, "What's this book?" Al-Shugairi answered him, "Gandhi's biography." The man told him, "May God guide you. How do you enter the mosque with a book for someone who don't believe in God?" After a short conversation, Al-Shugairi discovered that this man didn't know anything about Mahatma Gandhi or his life, except that he was an unbeliever. Judging people without knowledge is a big mistake in which a lot of people make. This man didn't know that Gandhi had spent his life in self-disciplining and searching for God, or that Gandhi was defending Muslims in India when they were suffering from harassment and persecution by radical Hindu groups, or that he promised to God to fast until death so that the Hindus allow Muslims to worship freely and to return to them their mosques, freedoms, and money. And in the end, he was killed by a Hindu extremist who was angry at Gandhi's sympathy for Muslims. Al-Shugairi ended his conversation with the man by reminding him that the matter of all human beings is entrusted to God and that humans are not in a position to judge people. Bit to remember, ignorance is a disaster, and judging people without knowledge is a greater disaster. God is all-wise and all-knowing, and He's the one who will judge each human being separately. The words who give thought, men of understanding, they understand. Look, are repeated 42 times in the Noble Quran. And this is a conclusive evidence that Islam supports science, contemplation, and the use of reason. Throughout the ages, religious groups and authorities have always prevented contemplation and learning until it eventually discovered that they had made a huge mistake by doing so. One of the most prominent examples of this is the Catholic Church when it persecuted Copernicus in the 16th century, just for his discovery that the earth revolves around itself and around the sun, and that it's not the center of the universe. This was contrary to the evangelical facts that are followed by the church, so Copernicus was accused of disbelief and his books and researches were burned. The same thing happened with scientists like Galileo and Bruno, who were subjected to severe prosecution by the church for supporting Copernicus' scientific discoveries. The number of scholars who were persecuted by the church in that era is estimated at 90,000 scientists. These actions were among the most important reasons why science was so woefully behind in that era, as well as one of the most important motives for the emergence of anti-church and atheistic movements in Europe. Therefore, the most prominent thinkers of the 19th century formed a wrong understanding that religion fights science and calls for inactivity. Karl Marx said that religion is the opiate of the people. Freud also believed that religion is a danger to humanity because it prohibits thinking and destroys human intelligence. The Islamic world wasn't without similar examples, most notably the Ottoman Empire's prohibition of the use of the printer, which was forbidden in the Islamic world until 1751, nearly 300 years after its invention in Europe. We also have many examples in our recent history, such as the prohibition of women's education, radio, and satellite channels. Bit to remember, the Islamic religion is clear of fighting science and of calling for the closure of minds. Thanks for watching. Please follow our social media accounts. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.